Greetings again, everybody. We're now continuing with the narrative of the great epic Mahabharata Krishna Dvaipayan of Vyasadeva. In the previous videos, we did Bhagavad Gita. So now we've completed Bhagavad Gita, which was preceded by Arjuna's prayer to Durga Devi, which is not in Debroy's edition, but we have it in Ganguli's edition. So with completing Bhagavad Gita, we're now going to start with the Bhishma Vata Parva, section 64. So this Parva has 3,947 shlokas and 77 chapters. So it's quite long. So Vadha means the act of killing. This section is so named because it is about the killing of Bhishma. The first 10 days of the battle have Bhishma as the commander-in-chief. This section thus describes the first 10 days of the battle. On the first day, Virata's son, Uttara, is killed. The second day has the Pandavas victorious, the highlight being Bhima's destruction of the Kalingas. There is a battle on the third day with Bhishma triumphant initially, followed by Arjuna's victory. The Pandavas triumph on the fourth day, and 14 of Duryodhana's brothers are killed by Bhima. While there is a lot of fighting on the fifth day, the highlight is Bhurishrava's killing of 10 of Sataki's sons. On balance, the Pandavas' side is more successful on the sixth day. While there is a great deal of fighting, there is nothing that merits a special mention on the seventh day. On the eighth day, Bhima kills 8 of Duryodhana's brothers. Iravat, Arjuna's son, kills several of Sakuni's brothers and is himself killed by the Rakshasa Alangusha. Bhima again kills 9 of Duryodhana's brothers. On the ninth day, the Pandavas eventually get the worst of it. Krishna decides to kill Bhishma and is restrained by Arjuna. The Pandavas consult Bhishma about how he may be killed and are advised to use Shikandi. The 10th day is marked by Bhishma's downfall. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakavalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitanscha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. So, chapter 901, part 41. Sanjaya said, at that, on seeing Dhananjaya take up Gandiva and his arrows again, the Maharathas let out a tremendous roar. The brave Pandavas and Somakas and their followers were delighted and blew on conch shells that had been generated from the ocean. Drums, peshis, krachas, footnote, that is a kind of drum. A kachaka is a saw, being it also means a teak tree, and it's possible that here it means some kind of musical instrument made from teak. And trumpets made from horns of cows were sounded together with their together, and there was a tumultuous sound. O Lord of men, gods, together with Gandharvas, ancestors, Siddhas, and masses of Charanas came to witness. The immensely fortunate rishis arrived, with Shatakratu at the forefront, desiring to see that great slaughter. O king, on seeing that the two armies, resembling two oceans, were ready to fight and were repeatedly moving, the brave Yudhishthira removed his armor and cast aside his supreme weapon. He swiftly descended from his chariot. Dharmaraja Yudhishthira joined his hands in salutation and advanced on foot, glancing towards the grandfather. Restrained in speech, he advanced towards the east, where the enemy forces were stationed. On seeing him advance, Dhananjaya, Kunti's son, also swiftly descended from his chariot and followed him, together with his soldiers, brothers. The illustrious Vasudeva also followed him at the rear. Extremely anxious, the foremost kings also advanced. Arjuna said, "O king, what are you doing? Why have you abandoned your brothers and are advancing on foot towards the east, where the enemy forces are stationed?" Bhimasena said, "O Indra among kings, where are you going, having thrown your armor and weapons away? O Lord of earth, you have abandoned your brothers and are going towards the armored enemy soldiers." Nakula said, "O descendant of the Bharata lineage, you are my eldest brother. On seeing you advance in this fashion, my heart is terrified. Tell us where you are going." Sahadeva said, "O king, a terrible fear confronts us in this battle, in the form of those whom we have to fight. Why are you advancing towards the enemy?" Sanjaya said, "O descendant of the Kuru lineage, though he was addressed in this way by his brothers, Yudhishthira did not utter a single word, but continued to advance. The immensely wise and great-minded Vasudeva smiled and told them, "I know his intentions. He will fight with the enemy kings only after he has shown his respects to Bhishma, Drona, Gautama, Shalya, and all the other seniors. It has been heard in the accounts of earlier eras that he who shows his respects towards his seniors and revered relatives in accordance with the sacred texts, and then fights with them, is certain to be victorious in battle. That is my view." While Krishna was speaking, a great sound of lamentation arose in the army of Dhritarashtra's son. But the other one remained silent. On seeing Yudhishthira from a distance, Dhritarashtra's son's soldiers conversed among themselves. "This one is a disgrace to his lineage. The king has been frightened and is advancing towards Bhishma. Yudhishthira, together with his brothers, will seek shelter. When Dhananjaya, Pandava, Vrikodara, Nakula, Sahadeva are protectors, why is the Pandava frightened? Though he is famous on earth, he cannot have been born in the lineage of Kshatriyas. His heart is frightened, and he is dispirited at the prospect of battle." Then all the soldiers praised the Kauravas. They were delighted in their minds and waved their garments around. "O Lord of earth, all the warriors censured Yudhishthira and his brothers together with Keshav. The Kaurava soldiers cried, 'Shame to Yudhishthira, O Lord of earth!' Then they again became completely silent. What would the king say? What would Bhishma speak in reply? What about Bhima, who prided himself in battle? What about Krishna and Arjuna? What would they say? O king, both armies were extremely curious on account of Yudhishthira. Surrounded by his brothers, He penetrated the enemy army, full of arrows and lances, and swiftly advanced towards Bhishma. Bhishma, Shantanu's son, was ready for battle. The Pandava king grasped his feet with both his hands and spoke these words. Yudhishthira said, O invincible one, O father, we are inviting you to fight with us. O father, grant us permission. Give us the blessings. Bhishma replied, O Lord of earth, O great king, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, if you had not come to me before this battle, I would have cursed you so that you might be defeated. O son, O Pandava, I am pleased with you. Fight and be victorious. Whatever else you might desire, obtain all that in this battle. O Partha, ask for a boon. What is it that you desire? May it be such that you do not face defeat. A man is the servant of wealth, but wealth is never anyone's servant. O great king, this is the truth. I am tied to the Kauravas because of wealth. O descendant of the Kuru lineage, that is the reason the words spoken by me are those of a eunuch. The Kauravas have robbed me through wealth. Other than battle, what else do you wish for? Yudhishthira said, O immensely wise one, your counsel has always been directed towards my welfare. Fight on the side of the Kauravas. That has always been the boon I have asked. Bhishma replied, O king, O descendant of the Kuru lineage, how can I help you? What should I do? I will fight on the side of the enemy. What else do you have to say? Yudhishthira said, You are invincible. How will we be able to vanquish you in battle? If you wish to provide counsel for our welfare, and you find this to be desirable, tell me this. Bhishma replied, O Kaunteya, even if it were to be Shatakratu himself, as long as I fight in battle, I do not see any man who can vanquish me. Yudhishthira said, O grandfather, I bow down before you. I am asking you to tell me about a means of victory. How can an enemy kill you in battle? Bhishma replied, O son, I do not see anyone who can defeat me in battle. The time for my death has not arrived. Come to me again later. Footnote, when the time of death arrives. End of footnote. Sanjaya said, O descendant of the Kuru lineage, with his head lowered in homage, Yudhishthira accepted Bhishma's words and again showed him homage. In the midst of his brothers, and while all the soldiers looked on, the mighty armed one then advanced towards the preceptor's chariot. Having honored Drona, he circumambulated him. The king spoke beneficial words to the invincible one. O illustrious one, I am requesting you. How can I fight without incurring a sin? O Brahmana, with your permission, how can I triumph over the enemies? Drona replied, O great king, having decided to fight, if you had not come to me, I would have cursed you for your complete defeat. O Yudhishthira, O unblemished one, I have now been honored by you, and I am satisfied. I grant you permission. Fight and be victorious. I will also do what you desire. Tell me what your wishes are. O great king, this being the case, other than the battle, what else do you want? A man is a servant of wealth, but wealth is never anyone's servant. O great king, this is the truth. I am tied to the Kauravas because of wealth. That is the reason I am tied like a eunuch. Other than battle, what else do you want? I will fight for the sake of the Kauravas, but my prayers will be for your triumph. Yudhishthira said, O Brahmana, pray for my victory and counsel me about what is good for me. Fight for the sake of the Kauravas, that is the boon I ask of you. Drona replied, O king, when you have Hari as an advisor, your victory is certain. I wish that you are able to vanquish your foes in battle. Where there is Dharma, Krishna is there. Where there is Krishna, victory is there. O Kaunteya, go and fight. Ask me, what will I tell you? Yudhishthira said, O foremost among Brahmanas, listen to what I am asking and telling you. You have never been defeated. How can we vanquish you in battle? Drona replied, as long as I am fighting in battle, you cannot be victorious, O king, together with your brothers. Try to kill me quickly. Yudhishthira said, O mighty armed one, tell us the means whereby you can be killed. O preceptor, I am bowing down before you. I am showing you homage and asking you. Drona replied, O son, as long as I am stationed in battle, when I am angrily fighting and am incessantly showering arrows, I do not see the enemy who can kill me. O king, except when I am ready for death and have withdrawn myself from weapons and my senses, no warrior can kill me in battle. I will tell you that this is true. I also tell you truthfully that if I hear extremely unpleasant news from a man whose words should be respected, I will abandon my weapons in battle. Sanjaya said, O great king, having heard these words from Bharadwaja's wise son, he took the preceptor's permission and went towards Saratvata's son, as Kripa. Having honored Kripa and circumambulated him, the king, skilled in the use of words, spoke these words to the one who was foremost among unassailable ones. O preceptor, I seek your permission to fight with you without incurring any sin. O unblemished one, if I obtain your permission, I will defeat all enemies. Kripa replied, O great king, having decided to fight, if you had not come to me, I would have cursed you for your complete defeat. A man is a servant of wealth, but wealth is never anyone's servant. O great king, that is the truth. I am tied to the Kauravas because of wealth. O great king, it is my view that I must fight for their sake. That is the reason I am tied like a eunuch. Other than battle, what else do you want? Yudhishthira said, O preceptor, listen to my words. Alas, I have to ask you this. Sanjaya said, having spoken these words, the king was dejected and bereft of his senses, fell silent. But having divined what he wished to say, Gautama replied, O Lord of earth, I am incapable of being slain. Fight and be victorious, O Lord of men. I am pleased that you have come. I will arise every day and pray for your victory. I am telling you this truthfully. O great king, having heard these words of Gautama, the king took Kripa's permission and went to where the king of Madra was. Having honored Shalya, he circumambulated him the king spoke these beneficial words to the invincible one. O revered one, I seek your permission to fight with you without incurring any sin. O great king, if I obtain your permission, I will defeat the enemies. Shalya replied, O great king, having decided to fight, if you had not come to me, I would have cursed you for your defeat in battle. I am pleased with the honor you have shown me. Let it be as you desire. I grant you permission. Fight and be victorious. O brave one, tell me anything else that you want. What can I give you? A man is the servant of wealth, but wealth is never anyone's servant. O great king, this is the truth. I am tied to the Kauravas because of wealth. Oh, nephew, I will do what you wish for and act according to your desires. I am speaking to you like a eunuch. Other than battle, what else do you want? Yudhishthira said, O great king, always counsel me about my supreme welfare. If you desire, fight for the enemy's cause. That is the boon I desire. Shalya replied, O supreme among kings, in the present case, tell me what I can do to help. I wish to fight in the enemy's cause. I am tied to the Kauravas because of wealth. Yudhishthira said, this was truly the boon I had asked for when the preparations were being made. When the son of the Suta fights, you should act so as to diminish his energy. Shalya replied, O son of Kunti, this desire of yours will be satisfied. Go and fight as you please. I will try for your victory. Sanjaya said, having taken leave of his maternal uncle, the lord of Madra, Kaunteya, surrounded by his brothers, emerged from that large army. In the field of battle, Vasudeva went to Radheya. For the sake of the Pandavas, Gada's elder brother spoke to him as Krishna. O Karna, I have heard that out of enmity towards Bhishma, you will not fight. O Radheya, until Bhishma has been killed, come over to our side. O Radhe, if you perceive both sides to be equal, after Bhishma has been killed, go and fight again and help Dhritarashtra's son. Karna replied, O Keshava, I will not do anything that causes displeasure to Dhritarashtra's son. Know that I am engaged in Duryodhana's welfare and have given up my life for him. Sanjaya said, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, having heard these words, Krishna refrained. He then returned to the Pandavas, who had Yudhishthira in the forefront. In the midst of the soldiers, the eldest Pandava loudly said, he who chooses us will be regarded by us as an aid. Yuyutsu glanced towards them and with delighted mind spoke to Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, Kunti's son. So Yuyutsu is Dhritarashtra's son, but not the son of Gandhari, but the son of a concubine of Dhritarashtra, Yuyutsu. O great king, O unblemished one, if you accept me in this battle, I will fight for your cause and against the sons of Dhritarashtra. Yudhishthira replied, come, all of us will fight with your ignorant brothers. O Yuyutsu, O mighty armed one, Vasudeva and all of us accept that you will fight in our cause. O Prince, immensely radiant one, it seems that you will be the sole strand and the only one to offer funeral cakes in Dhritarashtra's lineage. Accept us. We accept you. Dhritarashtra's evil-minded and intolerant son will cease to exist. Your son, Sanjaya is talking to Dhritarashtra, your son Yuyutsu then abandoned the Kauravas. Accompanied by the sound of drums, he went to the army of the sons of Pandu. Together with his younger brothers, King Yudhishthira happily donned his armor again, as resplendent as gold. All those bulls among men ascended their chariots. They arranged themselves in battle formations as they had early. They instructed that hundreds of drums and smaller drums be played. In different ways, those bulls among men roared like lions. On seeing the Pandavas, tigers among men, stationed on their chariots, all the kings, together with Drishtadyumna, were delighted and roared again. They had witnessed the magnanimity of the sons of Pandu, who honored those who should be shown honor. All the lords of the earth applauded this. The kings spoke about the friendship, compassion, and kindness of those great-souled ones displayed towards their relatives on the appropriate occasions. Excellent, superb. These were the words of praise were heard everywhere. There were auspicious chants about their deeds, attracting the mind and heart. All the Mlechas and Aryas who were there and saw, heard about the conduct of the sons of Pandu, wept, with their voices choking with tears. The spirited ones instructed hundreds of giant drums, pushkaras, and conch shells as white as milk to be sounded. So whoever's ready to go next is section XLIV.
Well, right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to find the page because, sorry, just 1 second, because I was listening and doing something else.
That was brilliant. Fantastic. That was certainly, that was really,
It's a good, great episode, isn't it? A lot of
yeah, it was
repetition
really
there.
good. Yeah, a lot of repetition. It was
But
like
that's on purpose. So because it's on purpose, it's actually an ornament, not a fault.
it's basically the same issue with every one of them. They
Yeah.
all have the same thing and due to money, blah blah.
Yeah.
Am I already hearing this again and again? But we were hearing it again and again.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. It's
It was
great.
almost verbatim, the
Yeah.
questions and the answers. You
Okay,
ready,
take it
Kano?
away.
Yeah, is it XLIV you said?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Dhritarashtra said.
All right. Dhritarashtra said, when the divisions of both my side and the foe were thus arrayed, who struck first, the Kurus or the Pandavas? Sanjaya said, hearing those words of his elder brother, thy son Dushasana advanced with his troops, with Bhishma at their head, and the Pandavas also advanced with cheerful hearts, desiring battle with Bhishma, having Bhimasen at their head. Then leonine shouts and clamorous uproars, and the noise of krakachas, the blare of cow horns, and the sound of drums and cymbals and tabors arose in both armies. And the warriors of the foe rushed against us, and we also rushed against them with loud shouts. And the uproar caused by this rush was deafening. The vast hosts of the Pandavas and the Dhritarashtras in that awfully murderous encounter shook in consequence of that uproar of conches and cymbals, like forests shaken by the wind. And the din made by those hosts teeming with kings, elephants, and steeds, rushing against one another in that evil hour, was as loud as that of oceans agitated by the tempest. And when that din, loud and causing the hair to stand on end, arose, the mighty armed Bhimasen began to roar like a bull, and those roars of Bhimasen rose above the clamour of conches and drums. the grunts of elephants, and the leonine shouts of the combatants. Indeed, the shouts of Bhimesen transcended the noise made by the thousands of chargers neighing in both the armies. And hearing those shouts of Bhimesen, who was roaring like the clouds, shouts that resembled the report of Shakra's thunder, thy warriors were filled with fear. And at those roars of the hero, the steeds and elephants all ejected urine and excreta like other animals at the roar of a lion, roaring like a deep mass of clouds and assuming an awful form. That hero frightened thy sons and fell upon them. Thereupon the brothers, thy sons Duryodhana and Durmukha and Dushaha, and that mighty car warrior Dushasana, and Durmarshana, O king, and Vivingsati, and Chitrasena, and the great car warrior Vikarna, and also Purumitra, and Jaya, and Bhoja, and the valorous son of Somadatta, shaking their splendid bows like masses of clouds, exhibiting the lightning's flashes, and taking out their quivers, long arrows long arrows resembling snakes that have just cast off their sloughs, surrounded that mighty bowman, rushing towards them, covering him with flights of arrows like the clouds shrouding the sun. And the 5 sons of Draupadi, and the mighty car warrior Sobhadra, and Nakula, and Sahadev, and Drishtadyumna of Prishata's race, rush against those Dhritarashtra's, tearing them with whetted shafts like summits of mountains with the impetuous bolts of heaven.
Sorry, can I just add a point?
Yeah.
Saubhadra is Abhimanyu.
Ah.
That's all.
And in that first encounter, characterized by the awful twang of bowstrings and their flapping against the leathern fences, no leathern fences of the warriors, their shields, I imagine, no combatant, either on thy side or that of the foe, turned back. And, O bull of Bharata's race, I beheld the lightness of hand, and the disciples of Drona in particular, who, shooting innumerable arrows, O king, always succeeded in hitting the mark. And the twang of sounding bowstrings ceased not for a moment. The blazing arrows shot through the air, like meteors falling from the firmament. And all the other kings, O Bharata, stood like silent spectators witnessing that interesting and awful encounter of kinsmen. And then those mighty car warriors, with wrath excited, and remembering the injuries sustained at one another's hands, strove in battle, O king, challenging one another. And the 2 armies of the Kurus and the Pandavas, teeming with elephants, steeds, and cars, looked exceedingly beautiful on the field of battle, like painted figures on a canvas. And then the other kings all took up their bows, and the sun himself was shrouded by the dust raised by the combatants. They fell upon one another at the heads of their respective troops at the command of thy son. And the loud uproar made by the elephants and the chargers of those kings rushing to the combat mingled with the leonine shouts of the combatants and the din made by the blare of conches and the sounds of drums. And the uproar of that ocean having arrows for its crocodiles, bows for its snakes, swords for its tortoises, and the forward leaps of the warriors for its tempest, resembled the din made by the actual ocean when agitated. And kings in thousands, commanded by Yudhishthira, with their respective troops fell upon the ranks of thy son. And the encounter between the combatants of the two hosts was fierce in the extreme. No difference could be perceived between the combatants of our side or that of the foe, while battling, or retreating in broken array, or rallying again to the fight. In that terrific and awful battle, thy father Bhishma shone, transcending that countless host. Section XLV. Sanjaya said, On the forenoon of that awful day, O king, the terrible battle that mangled the bodies of so many kings commenced, and the loud shouts, resembling leonine roars of the Kurus and the Srinjayas, both desirous of victory in battle, made both the welkin and the earth resound therewith. I think leonine means lion-like, by the way. I'm pretty sure it does. Leonine.
Yeah, of course it does.
And a tumultuous uproar was heard, mingled with the flaps of leathern fences and the blare of conches. And many were the leonine roars that rose there of men shouting against one another. And, O bull of Bharata's race, the sound of bowstrings stretched by hands cased in fences, the heavy tread of infantry, the furious neigh of chargers, the falling of sticks and the iron hooks on the beads of elephants, the clash of weapons, the jingle of bells of elephants rushing against one another, and the clatter of cars resembling the roar of clouds, mingled together, produced a loud uproar, making one's hair stand on end. And all the Kuru warriors, reckless of their very lives, with cruel intentions, rushed with standards upraised against the Pandavas. And Santanu's son himself, taking up a terrible bow that resembled the rod of death, rushed, O king, on the field of battle against Dhananjaya. And Arjuna also, endued with great energy, taking up the bow Gandiva, celebrated over all the world, rushed on the field of battle against Ganga's son. And both those tigers among the Kurus became desirous of slaying each other. The mighty son of Ganga, however, piercing in battle the son of Pritha, could not make him waver. And so, O king, the son of Pandu also could not make Bhishma waver in battle. And the mighty bowman Satyaki rushed against Kritavarman. And the battle between these two was fierce in the extreme and made the hair of onlookers stand on end. And Satyaki afflicted Kritivarman, and Kritivarman afflicted Satyaki with loud shouts, and each weakened the other, and pierced all over with arrows. Those mighty warriors shone like two blossoming kinshukas in spring adorned with flowers. And the mighty bowman Abhimanyu battled with Vrihadvala. Soon, however, in that encounter, O king, the ruler of Kosala cut off the standard and overthrew the charioteer of Subhadra's son. The son of Subhadra then, upon the overthrow of his charioteer, was filled with wrath and pierced Vrihadvala, O king, with 9 shafts, and with a couple of sharp arrows. That grinder of foes also cut off Vrihadvala's standard, and with one more cut off one of the protectors of his car wheels, and with the other his charioteer. And those chastisers of foes continued to weaken each other with sharp arrows. And Bhimasen struggled in battle with thy son Duryodhana, that mighty car warrior, proud and inflated, who had injured the sons of Pandu. Both of those foremost princes among the Kurus are tigers among men and mighty car warriors, and they covered each other on the field of battle with their arrowy showers. And beholding those high-souled and accomplished warriors conversant with all modes of warfare, all creatures were filled with amazement of Bharata. And Dushasana, rushing against that mighty car warrior Nakula, pierced him with many sharp arrows capable of penetrating into the very vitals. The son of Madri then, laughing the while, cut off with sharp arrows his adversary's standard and bow, and then he struck him with 25 small-headed arrows. Thy son, however, then, who can with difficulty be vanquished, slew in that fierce encounter the steeds of Nakula and cut off his standard. And Durmukha, rushing against the mighty Sahadeva, battling in that terrific encounter, pierced him with a shower of arrows. The heroic Sahadeva, then, in that fearful battle, overthrew Durmukha's charioteer with an arrow of great sharpness, both of them, irrepressible in fight, approaching each other in combat, and each attacking the other and desirous of warding off the other's attack, began to strike terror into each other with terrible shafts. And King Yudhishthira himself encountered the ruler of the Madras. The chief of the Madras then in his very sight cut off in twain Yudhishthira's bow. Thereupon the son of Kunti, throwing aside that broken bow, took up another that was stronger and capable of imparting a greater velocity. The king then, with straight arrows, covered the ruler of the Madras, and in great wrath said, "Wait, wait!" And Drishtajumna, O Bharata, rushed against Drona. And Drona then, in great wrath, cut off in that encounter the hard bow of the high-souled prince of Panchala that was capable of always taking the lives of foes. And at the same time, he shot in that conflict a terrible arrow that was like a second rod of death. And the arrow shot, and the arrow shot penetrated the body of the prince. Taking up then another bow and 14 arrows, the son of Drupada pierced Drona in that encounter. And enraged with each other, they battled on fiercely. And the impetuous Sanka encountered Somadatta's son, who was equally impetuous in battle, and addressed him, "O king," saying, "Wait, wait." And that hero then pierced his adversary's right arm in that combat. And thereupon the son of Somadatta struck Sanka on the shoulders. And the battle that ensued between those two proud heroes, O king, soon became as terrible as a combat between the gods and the Danavas. And that mighty car warrior, Drishtaketu of immeasurable soul, with wrath excited, rushed in battle, O king, against Valhika, the very embodiment of wrath. Valhika then, O king, setting up a leonine roar, weakened the wrathful Drishtaketu with innumerable arrows. The king of the Chedis, however, exceedingly provoked, quickly pierced Valhika in that encounter with 9 arrows, like an infuriate elephant against an infuriate elephant. In that combat they roared against each other repeatedly, both exceedingly enraged. And they encountered each other with great wrath, and looked like the planets Angaraka and Shukra. And Gatotkacha of cruel deeds encountered the Rakshasa Alamvusha of cruel deeds, like Shakra encountering Vala in battle. And Gatotkacha, O Bharata, pierced that infuriate and powerful Rakshasa with 90 keen-edged shafts, and Alanvusha also in that combat pierced the mighty son of Bhimasena in many places with straight arrows, and mangled with arrows they shone in that encounter like the mighty Chakra and the powerful valor in the combat of old between the Celestials and the Asuras. The powerful Shikandin, O king, rushed against Drona's son. Ashwathaman, however, deeply piercing the angry Shikandin stationed before him with a keen-edged shaft, caused him to tremble. Shikandin also, O king, smote Drona's son with a sharp whetted shaft of excellent temper, and they continued in that encounter to strike each other with the various kinds of arrows, and against that and against the heroic Bhagadatta. In battle, Virata, the commander of a large division, rushed impetuously, O king, and then commenced their combat. Virata, exceedingly provoked, poured on Bhagadatta an arrowy shower like, O Bharata, the clouds showering rain on the mountain breast. But Bhagadatta, that lord of the earth, speedily enveloped Virata in that encounter with arrows, like the clouds enveloping the risen sun. Kripa, the son of Saradwat, rushed against Vrihadkshatra, the ruler of the Kaikeyas. And Kripa, O Bharata, enveloped him with a shower of arrows. Vrihadkshatra also shrouded the infuriate son of Gotama with an hourly downpour, and those warriors then, having slain each other's steeds and cut off each other's bows, were both deprived of their cars, and exceedingly enraged, they then approached each other for fighting with their swords. And the combat which then took place between them was terrible in aspect and unparalleled. That chastiser of foes, King Drupada, then, in great wrath, rushed against Jayadratha, the ruler of the Sindhus, cheerfully waiting for battle. The ruler of the Sindhus pierced Drupada in that combat with 3 shafts, and Drupada pierced him in return. The battle that took place between them was terrible and fierce, and productive of satisfaction in the hearts of all the spectators, and resembling a conflict between the planets Shukra and Angaraka. And Vikarna, son to thee, with fleet steeds, rushed against the mighty Sutosama, and the combat between them commenced. Vikarna, however, although he pierced Sutasoma with many arrows, failed to make him waver. Neither could Sutasoma make Vikarna waver, and that appeared wonderful to all. And against Susarman, And against Susarman, that mighty car warrior and tiger among men, Chekitana of great prowess, rushed in exceeding wrath for the sake of the Pandavas. And Susarman also, O great king, in that encounter checked the advance of that mighty car warrior Chekitana with plentiful shower of arrows. And Chekitana also, greatly provoked, showered on Susarman in that terrible conflict a shower of arrows like a mighty mass of clouds showering rain on the mountain breast. And Sakuni, endued with great prowess, rushed, O king, against Prativindya of great prowess, like a lion against an infuriate elephant. Thereupon the son of Yudhishthira, in exceeding wrath, mangled Subala's son in that combat with sharp arrows, like Maghavat mangling a Dhanava. And Sakuni also in that fierce conflict pierced Prativindya in return and mangled that warrior of great intelligence with straight arrows. And Shruta Karman rushed in battle, O great king, against that mighty car warrior Sudakshina of great prowess, the ruler of the Kambojas. Sudakshina, however, O great king, piercing that mighty Ka warrior, the son of Sahadev, failed to make him waver, for he stood like the Mainaka mountain against the assaults of Indra. Thereupon, Shrutakarman, exceedingly provoked, weakened that mighty Ka warrior of the Kambojas with innumerable arrows, and mangled him in every part of his body. And Iravan, that chastiser of foes, in great wrath and exerting carefully, rushed in battle against the wrathful Shrutayush. Almost the end of the chapter. Where am I? Sorry. Have we done Sakuni? Yes. Ah, sorry, it's on the phone. It's so difficult just on the screen. And Iravan, the chastiser of foes, in great wrath and exerting carefully, rushed in battle against the wrathful Shrutayush. Yes, the powerful son of Arjuna, that mighty Ka warrior, then slaying the steeds of his adversary, set up a loud roar. And thereupon, O king, all the warriors who saw the feat praised him greatly. And Shrutasen also, exceedingly provoked, slew in that conflict the steeds of Falguni's son with a powerful mace, and the battle between them continued. And Vinda and Anuvinda, those two princes of Avanti, approached in battle that mighty Ka warrior, the heroic Kuntiboja, at the head of his troops, accompanied by his son. And wonderful was the prowess we beheld of those two princes on that occasion. For they fought on very coolly, though battling with a large body of troops. And Anuvinda hurled a mace at Kuntiboja, but Kuntiboja quickly covered him with a shower of arrows. The son of Kuntiboja pierced Vinda with many arrows, and the latter also pierced him in return. And the combat between them looked very wonderful. And the Kekaya brothers, Osaya, at the head of their troops, encountered in battle the 5 Gandhara princes with their troops. And thy son Viravahu battled with that best of Ka warriors Uttara, the son of Virata, and pierced him with 9 arrows. And Uttara also pierced that hero with sharp-edged arrows. And the ruler of the Chetis, O king, rushed in battle against Uluka. And the ruler of the Chedis, O king, rushed in battle against Uluka. And he pierced Uluka with a shower of arrows. And Uluka also pierced him with sharp arrows, furnished with excellent wing. And the combat that took place between them, O king, was fierce in the extreme. For unable to vanquish each other, they mangled each other terribly. And thus in that general engagement of thousands of single combats took place between men on Ka, warriors on elephants, and horsemen, and foot soldiers of their side and thine. For a short while only that engagement offered a beautiful sight. Soon, however, O king, it became furious, and nothing could be discovered. In the battle that ensued, elephants rushed against elephants, Ka warriors against Ka warriors, steed against steed, and foot soldier against foot soldier. The conflict then became confused and fierce in the extreme, of heroes rushing against each other in the melee. And the celestial Rishi and Siddhas and Charanas that were present there beheld that terrific battle to resemble the combat of the gods and the Asuras. And elephants in thousands, and cars also in thousands, and vast bodies of infantry, O sire, seemed to alter their character. And, O tiger among men, it was seen that cars and elephants, and steeds, and infantry fought with each other repeatedly on the same places. So that's the end of that chapter, and I shall offer to pass the reading along. Thank you.
That was brilliant. That was really nice. I was really enjoyed that.
Thank you, Matura.
It really suits you, the Ganguli prose. It really does.
Thanks.
What chapter am I beginning here?
XLVI.
XLV.
Page 110.
Thank you.
Carry on.
Okay. Sanjaya said, O king, I will now describe to thee the combats of hundreds and thousands of foot soldiers. O Bharat, in utter forgetfulness of all consideration due to others. There the son recognized not the sire recognized not the son of his loins, the brother recognized not the brother, the sister's son recognized not the maternal uncle. The maternal uncle recognized not the sister's son, the friend not the friend. The Pandavas and the Kurus fought as if they were possessed by demons. Some tigers among men fell with cars into pieces, and the shafts of cars broke, clashing against shafts, and the spikes of car yokes against spikes of car yokes. And some warriors, united together, encountered others that were united together, all desirous of taking one another's life. And some cars obstructed by cars were unable to move, and huge-bodied elephants with rent temples falling upon huge elephants angrily tore one another in many places with their tusks. Others, O king, encountering impetuous and huge ones of their species, with arched edifices and standards on their backs, and trained to the fight, struck with their tusks, shrieked in great agony. Disciplined by training and urged on by pikes and hooks, elephants, not in rut, rushed straight against those that were in rut, and some huge elephants, encountering compeers in rut, ran, uttering cries like those of cranes in all directions. And many huge elephants, well trained, and with juice trickling down from rent temples and mouth, mangle with swords, lances, and arrows, and pierced in their vital parts, shrieked aloud, and falling down, expired. And some, uttering frightful cries, ran in all directions. The foot soldiers that protected the elephants, endued with broad chests, and capable of smiting effectually, with wrath excited, and armed with pikes and bows, and bright battle axes, and with maces and clubs, and short arrows, and lances, and with shafts and stout bludgeons, mounted with iron spikes and swords, well grasped of the brightest polish, ran hither and thither. O king, and seemed resolved to take one another's life, and the sabres of brave combatants, rushing against one another, steeped in human blood, seemed to shine brightly, and the whiz of swords whirled and made to descend by heroic arms, and flailing upon the vital parts of the bodies of foes became very loud, and the heart-ending wails of combatants in multitudinous hosts, crushed with maces and clubs, and cut off with well-tempered swords, and pierced with the tusks of elephants, and grained by tuskers, calling upon one another, were heard, O Bharata, to resemble the wails of those that are doomed to hell. And horsemen, on chargers of exceeding speed, and furnished with outstretched tails, resembling the plumes of swans, rushed against one another, and hurled by them long bearded darts adorned with pure gold, fleet and polished, and sharp-pointed, fell like snakes. And some heroic horsemen, on coursers of speed, leaping high, cut off the heads of car warriors from their cars. And here and there a car warrior, getting bodies of cavalry within shooting distance, slew many with straight shafts furnished with heads, and many infuriate elephants adorned with trapping of gold, and looking like newly risen clouds, throwing down steed, crushed them with their own legs. And some elephants, struck on their frontal globes and flanks, and mangled by means of lances, shrieked aloud in great agony. And many huge elephants, in the bewildering of the melee, crushing steeds with their riders, threw them down, and some elephants, overthrowing with the points of their tusks steeds with their riders, wandered crushing cars with their standards. And some huge male elephants, from excess of energy and with the temporal juice gushing down in large quantities, slew steeds along with their riders by means of their trunks and legs. Fleet arrows, polished and sharp-pointed, and resembling snakes, fell upon the heads, the temples, the flanks, and the limbs of the elephants. And polished javelins of terrible mien, and looking like large meteoric flashes, hurled by heroic arms, fell hither and thither. O King, piercing through the bodies of men and horses, and cutting through coats of mail, and many taking out their polished sabres from sheaths made of the skins of leopards and tigers, slew the combatants opposed to them in battle. And many warriors, though themselves attacked and had the flanks of their bodies cut open, yet angrily fell upon their foes with swords, shields, and battle axes. And some elephants, dragging down and overthrowing cars with their steeds by means of their trunks, began to wander in all directions, guided by the cries of those behind them. And hither and thither, some pierced by javelins, and some cut asunder by battle axes, and some crushed by elephants, and others trod down by horses, and some cut by car wheels, and some by axes, loudly called upon their kinsmen, O King, and some called upon their sons, and some upon their sires, and some upon brother and kinsman, and some called upon their maternal uncles, and some upon their sisters' sons, and some called upon others on the field of battle. And a very large number of combatants, O Bharata, lost their weapons, or had their thighs broken, and others with arms torn off, or sides pierced or cut open, were seen to wail aloud from desire of life. And some endued with little strength, tortured by thirst, O King, and lying on the field of battle, on the bare ground, asked for water. And some, weltering in pools of blood, and excessively weakened, O Bharata, greatly censured themselves, and thy sons assembled together for battle. And there were brave Kshatriyas, who, having injured one another, did not abandon their weapons or set up any wails. O sire, on the other hand, excuse me. O sire, on the other hand, lying in those places where they lay, roared with joyful hearts, and biting from wrath with their teeth their own lips, looked at one another with faces rendered fierce in consequence of the contraction of their eyebrows. And others endued with great strength and tenacity, in great pain, afflicted by arrows and smarting under their wounds, remained perfectly silent. And other heroic car warriors, deprived in the encounter of their own cars, and thrown down and wounded by huge elephants, asked to be taken up on the cars of others. And many, O king, looked beautiful in their wounds like blossoming kinsukas, and in all the divisions were heard terrific cries, countless in number. And in that awful combat, destructive of heroes, the sire slew the son slew the sire, the sister's son slew the maternal uncle slew the sister's son, friend slew friend, and relatives slew kinsman. Even thus, the slaughter took place in that encounter of the Kurus with the Pandavas, and in that frightful and terrible battle, in which no consideration was shown by anybody for anybody, the divisions of the Pandavas, approaching Bhishma, began to waver. And, O bull of Bharata's race, the mighty armed Bhishma, O king, with his standard, which was made of silver, and graced with the device of the Palmyra, with 5 stars, setting upon his great car, shone like the lunar orb under the peak of Meru. Section XL BII. Sanjaya said, after the great part of the forenoon of that awful day had worn out, in that terrific engagement, O king, that was so destructive of foremost of men, Durmukha and Kritavarman, and Kripa and Salya and Vivinsati, urged by thy son, approached Bhishma and began to protect him. And protected by those 5 mighty car warriors, O bull of Bharata's race, that great car warrior penetrated the Pandava host. And the Palmyra standard of Bhishma was seen to glide continually, O Bharata, through the Chedis and the Kazis and the Kurushas and the Panchalas, and that hero, with broad-headed shafts of great swiftness, which were again perfectly straight, cut off the heads of foes and their cars with yokes and standards. And, O bull of Bharata's race, Bhishma seemed to dance on his car as it coursed along its track. And some elephants, struck by him in their vital parts, shrieked in agony. Then Abhimanyu, in great wrath, stationed on his car, unto which were yoked excellent steeds of a tawny hue, rushed towards Bhishma's car. And with his standard adorned with pure gold, and resembling a karnikara tree, he approached Bhishma and those 5 foremost of car warriors, and striking with a keen-edged shaft the standard of the Palmyra bannered warrior, that hero engaged in battle with Bhishma and those other car warriors that protected him. Piercing Kritavarman with 1 arrow and Salya with 5, he weakened his great-grandsire with 9 arrows. And with 1 arrow well shot from his bow, drawn to its fullest stretch, he cut off his adversary's standard, adorned with pure gold. And with 1 broad-headed shaft, capable of penetrating every cover, which was perfectly straight, he cut off from his body the head of Durmukha's charioteer. And with another keen-edged arrow, he cut in twain the gold-decked bow of Kripa. And then, also, with many sharp-pointed shafts, that mighty car warrior smote in great wrath, seeming to dance the while, and beholding his lightness of hand, the gods were gratified. And in consequence of Abhimanyu's sureness of aim, all the car warriors, headed by Bhishma, regarded him to be possessed of the capacity of Dhananjaya himself, and his bow, emitting a twang like that of Gandiva, while stretched and re-stretched, seemed to revolve like a circle of fire. Bhishma then, that slayer of hostile heroes, rushing on him impetuously, speedily pierced the son of Arjuna in that combat with 9 arrows. And he also, with 3 broad-headed shafts, cut off the standard of that warrior of great energy. Of rigid vows, Bhishma also struck his adversary's charioteer, and Kritavarman and Kripa and Salya also. O sire, piercing Arjuna's son, all failed to make him waver, for he stood firm like the Mainaka mountain. And the heroic son of Arjuna, though surrounded by those mighty car warriors of the Dhritarashtra army, still showered on those 5 car warriors arrowy downpours. And baffling their mighty weapons by his arrowy showers, and pouring on Bhishma his shafts, the powerful son of Arjuna set up loud shout, and struggling in the battle thus, and afflicting Bhishma with his arrows, the strength we saw of his arms then was very great. But though endued with such prowess, Bhishma also shot his arrows at him. But he cut off in that combat the arrows shot from Bhishma's bow. And then that heroic warrior of arrows that were never lost, cut off with 9 arrows in that combat the standard of Bhishma. And at that feat the people there set up a loud shout. Decked with jewels and made of silver, that tall standard bearing the device of the Palmyra, cut off, O Bharata, by the shafts of Subhadra's son, fell down on the earth. And beholding, O bull of Bharata's race, that standard falling in consequence of the shafts of Subhadra's son, the proud Bhima set up a loud shout for cheering the son of Subhadra. Then, in fierce combat, the mighty Bhishma caused many celestial weapons of great efficacy to appear, and the great grandsire of immeasurable soul then covered Subhadra's son with thousands of arrows. And at this, 10 great bowmen and mighty car warriors of the Pandavas quickly rushed on their cars for protecting the son of Subhadra. And those were Virata with his son, and Drishtadyumna of Prishata's race, and Bhima, the 5 Kekaya brothers, and Satyaki also, O king. And as they were falling upon him with great impetuosity, Bhishma, the son of Santanu, in that conflict, pierced the prince of Panchala with 3 arrows, and Satyaki with 10, and with 1 winged arrow, whetted and sharp-edged as a razor, and shot from his bow, drawn to its fullest stretch, he cut off the standard of Bhimasena. And, O best of men, the standard of Bhimasena, made of gold, and bearing the device of a lion, cut off by Bhishma, fell from the car. And Bhima then, piercing Santanu's son Bhishma in that combat with 3 arrows, pierced Kripa with 1, and Kritavarman with 8. And Uttara also, the son of Virata, on a tusker, with upraised trunk, rushed against the ruler of the Madras. Salya, however, succeeded in checking the unparalleled impetuosity of that prince of elephants rushing quickly towards his car. That prince of elephants, in great wrath, placing his leg upon the yoke of Salya's car, killed his 4 large steeds of excellent speed. The ruler of the Madras then, staying on that car whose steeds had been slain, hurled a dart, all made of iron and resembling a snake, for slaying Uttara outright. The latter's coat of mail being cut through by that dart, he became totally deprived of his senses and fell down from his elephant's neck, with the hook and the lance loosened from his grasp. And Salya, then taking up his sword and jumping down from his excellent car and putting forth his prowess, cut off the large trunk of that prince of elephants. His coat of mail pierced all over with a shower of arrows, and his trunk cut off, that elephant uttered a loud shriek and fell down and expired. Achieving such a feat, O king, the ruler of the Madras speedily mounted on the splendid car of Kritavarman, and beholding his brother Uttara slain, and seeing Salya staying with Kritavarman, Virata's son Sweta blazed up in wrath, like fire blazing up with clarified butter, and that mighty warrior, stretching his large bow that resembled the bow of Sakra himself, rushed with the desire of slaying Salya, the ruler of the Madras. Surrounded on all sides with a mighty division of cars, he advanced towards Salya's car, pouring an arrowy shower, and beholding him rush to the fight with prowess equal to that of an infuriate elephant, 7 car warriors of thy side surrounded him on all sides, desirous of protecting the ruler of Madras, who seemed to be already within the jaws of death. And those 7 warriors were Vrihadvala, the ruler of the Kosalas, and Jayatsena of Magadha, and Rukmarata, O king, who was the valorous son of Salya, and Vinda and Anuvinda of Avanti, and Sudakshina, the king of the Kamovajas, and Jayadratha, the ruler of the Sindhus, and the kinsman of the Vrihadkshatra. And the stretched bows of those high-souled warriors, decorated with diverse colours, looked like the lightning's flashes in the clouds, and they all poured on Sweta's head ceaseless showers of arrows, like the clouds tossed by the wind, dropping rain on the mountain breast on the expiry of summer. That mighty bowman and commander of the forces, enraged at this, with 7 broad-headed arrows of great impetuosity, struck their bows, and then continued to grind them. And those bows we saw were cut off, O Bharata, and thereupon they all took up, within half the time taken up in a wink of the eye, other bows, and they then shot at Sweta 7 arrows, and once again that mighty armed warrior of immeasurable soul, with 7 fleet shafts, cut off those other bows of these bowmen. Those warriors then, whose large bows had been cut off, those mighty car warriors, swelling with rage, grasping 7 darts, set up a loud shout. And, O chief of the Bharatas, they hurled those 7 darts at Sweta's car, and those blazing darts, which coursed through the air like large meteors with the sound of thunder, were all cut off before they could reach him, that warrior conversant with mighty weapons, by means of 7 broad-headed arrows. Then taking up an arrow capable of penetrating into every part of the body, he shot it, O chief of the Bharatas, at Rukmarata. And that mighty arrow, surpassing the force of the thunderbolt, penetrated into the latter's body. Then, O king, forcibly struck by that arrow, Rukmarata sat down on the terrace of his car and fell into a deadly swoon. His charioteer, then, without betraying any fear, bore him away, senseless and in a swoon, in the very sight of all. Then taking up 6 other arrows, adorned with gold, the mighty-armed Sweta cut off the standard tops of his 6 adversaries. And that chastiser of foes, then, piercing their steeds and charioteers also, and covering those 6 warriors themselves with ceaseless shafts, proceeded towards the car of Salia. And beholding that generalissimo of the Pandava forces proceeding quickly, generalissimo of the Pandava forces proceeding quickly towards Salia's car, a loud uproar of "Oh!" and "Alas!" arose in thy army, O Bharata. Then thy mighty son, with Bhishma at the head, and supported by heroic warriors and many troops, proceeded towards Sweta's car, and he thus rescued the ruler of the Madras, who had already entered the jaws of death. And then commenced a battle, terrific, and making the hair stand on end, between thy troops and those of the enemy, in which cars and elephants all got mixed up in confusion, and upon Subhadra's son and Bhimasena, and that mighty car warrior Satyaki, and upon the ruler of the Kaikayas and Virata, and Drishtajumna of Prushata's race, and upon the Chedai troops, the old Kuru grandsire poured showers of arrows.
By the way, just to mention, the Madras, the word you can, you see that word quite a lot. The Madras, you're saying Madras.
Oh, I'm saying Madras, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So what it is, it's the plural of the people of Madras.
the Madras.
Yeah, so the ruler of the Madras. And that's where Madri, Pandu's other wife, comes from. That's why she's called Madri. So they're the Madras. That was great, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Now Dina's ready.
Thank you, Dina.
Good evening, all.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And welcome, Dina.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all. Sorry I was a little bit late earlier. So, continuing the Bhishma Parva Bhagavad Gita, section XLV 111.
Bhagavad Gita.
It's still in the Gita section.
No. Now we're on Bhishma Parva.
Oh, Bhishma Parva, the Gita Parva. Oh, yeah. Bhagavad Gita Parva.
We're done with that.
Oh, is it?
Finished Bhagavad Gita Parva. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhritarashtra said, when that great bowman, Sweta, proceeded towards Salya's car, what did the Kauravas and the Pandavas do, O Sanjaya? What also did Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, do? Tell me who asked thee all this. Sanjaya said, O king, hundreds and thousands of bulls among Kshatriyas, all brave and mighty car warriors, placing the generalissimo Sweta in the van and displaying their strength. O Bharat, unto thy royal son, and with Sikandin also at their head, desired to rescue Sweta. And those mighty car warriors rushed towards Bhishma's car, decked with gold, desirous of slaying that foremost of warriors. And the battle that ensued then was terrible.
Dina,
Hello?
Dina,
Yeah,
what chapter are you reading?
just reading on from where Gunnar had finished.
You sure? I think you... Is he Guna? Are you sure? Be sure, because I'm not sure.
Where is
Hey,
he?
Dina,
Hello.
I'm in Bhishma Parva,
Yeah.
and where I finished was on page 116,
Yeah. This is 117.
section XLVIII. Yeah?
Yeah. So I'm on I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, okay, sorry, you're right.
Uh-huh. I shall describe to thee that wonderful and terrific battle as it occurred between thy troops and those of the enemy. The son of Shantanu made the terraces of many cars empty for that best of car warriors, showering his arrows, cut off many heads. Endued with energy equal to that of the sun himself, he shrouded the very sun with his arrows. And he removed the enemies from around him in that combat-like rising combat light, the rising sun dispelling the darkness around. And in that battle, O king, arrows were shot by him in hundreds and thousands that were powerful and possessed of great impetuosity. And that took in that conflict the lives of numberless Kshatriyas. And in that combat he felled heads by hundreds of heroic warriors. O king, and elephants cased in thorny mail, like summits of mountains felled by heaven's bolt. And cars, O king, were seen to mingle with cars. Car might be seen upon another car, and a steed upon another steed. And impetuous chargers, O king, bore hither and thither heroic riders in the prime of their youth, slain and hanging from their saddles, with their bows still in their grasp, with swords and quivers attached to their persons, and coats of mail loosened from their bodies. Hundreds of warriors, deprived of life, lay on the ground, sleeping on beds worthy of heroes, rushing against one another, falling down and rising up again, and rushing again, having risen up. The combatants fought hand to hand. Afflicted by one another, many rolled on the field of battle. Infuriate elephants rushed hither and thither, and car warriors by hundreds were slain, and car warriors, along with their cars, were crushed on all sides. And some warriors fell upon his car, slain by another one's arrows. And the mighty car warrior might be seen to fall down from high, his charioteer also having been slain. A thick dust arose, and thereupon unto the warrior struggling in battle. The twang of the hostile bow indicated the struggling adversary before. From the pressure also on their bodies, combatants guessed their foes, and the warriors, O king, fought on with arrows, guided by the sound of bowstrings and hostile division. The very hiss of the arrows shot by the combatants at one another could not be heard. And so loud was the sound of the drums that it seemed to pierce the ears. And in that tumultuous uproar, making the hair stand on end, the name of the combatant uttered in the battle, while displaying his prowess, could not be heard. The sire could not recognize the son of his loins, one of the wheels being broken, or the yoke being torn off, or one of the steeds being slain. The brave car warrior was overthrown from his car, along with his charioteer, by means of straight arrows. And thus many heroic warriors, deprived of their cars, were seen to fly away. He who was slain had cut off. He who was not slain was struck at the very vitals, but unstruck there was none. When Bhishma attacked the foe, let me get that sentence right. He who was slain had cut off. He who was not slain was struck at the very vitals, but unstruck there was none when Bhishma attacked the foe. And in that terrific battle, Sweta caused a great slaughter of the Kurus, and he slew many noble princes by hundreds upon hundreds. And he cut off by means of his arrows the heads of Ka warriors by hundreds and hundreds, and their arms decked with angadas and their bows all around. Ka warriors and car wheels and others that were on cars, and the cars themselves, and standards both small and costly, O king, and large bodies of horses, and crowds of cars, and crowds of men, O Bharat's race, were destroyed by Shweta. Ourselves, from fear of Shweta, abandoning Bhishma, the best of car warriors, left the battle retreating to the rear end. Therefore, do we now behold your lordship. And all the Kurus, O son of Kuru's race, beyond the range of arrows, and abandoning Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, in the battlefield, stood as spectators, though armed for the combat, cheerful in the hour of universal cheerlessness, that tiger among Bhishma, alone of our army, in that terrible battle, stood immovable like the mountain Meru, taking the lives of the foe, like the sun at the close of winter. He stood resplendent with golden rays of his car, like the sun himself with rays. And that great bowman shot clouds of arrows and struck down the Asuras. While being slaughtered by Bhishma in that dreadful combat, these warriors breaking away from their ranks, they all fled from him, as if from a fire fed by fuel. Encountering the single warrior Shweta, that slayer of foes, Bhishma, was the only one amongst us who was cheerful and whole. Devoted to the welfare of Duryodhana, he began to consume the Pandava warrior. Reckless of his very life, which is difficult of being cast off, and abandoning all fear, he slaughtered, O king, the Pandava army in that fierce conflict. And beholding the generalissimo, Sweta, smiting the Dhritarashtra divisions, thy father, Bhishma, called also Devavrata, impetuously rushed against him. Thereupon, Sweta covered Bhishma with an extensive network of arrows. And Bhishma also covered Sweta with a flight of arrows. And roaring like a couple of bulls, they rushed like two infuriate elephants of gigantic size, or two raging tigers against each other, baffling each other's weapons by means of their weapons. Those bulls among men, that is, Bhishma and Sweta, fought with each other, desirous of taking each other's life. In one single day, Bhishma, infuriate with anger, could consume the Pandava army with his arrows, if Shweta did not protect him. Beholding the grandsire, then turned off by Shweta, the Pandavas were filled with joy, while thy son became cheerless. Duryodhana, then, with wrath excited, and surrounded by many kings, rushed with his troops against the Pandava host in battle. Then Shweta, abandoning the son of Ganga, slaughtered thy son's host with great impetuosity, like the wind uprooting trees with violence. And the son of Virata, senseless with wrath, having routed thy army, advanced once more, O king, to the place where Bhishma was stationed. And those two high-souled and mighty warriors then, both blazing with their arrows, battled with each other like Virat and Vasava, old, desirous, O king, of slaying each other, drawing his bow to the fullest stretch. Sweta pierced Bhishma with 7 arrows. The valorous Bhishma, then, putting forth his prowess, quickly checked his foe's valor, like an infuriate elephant, checking an infuriate compeer. And Sweta then, that delighter of Kshatriyas, struck Bhishma, and Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, also pierced him in return with 10 arrows. and though pierced by him, thus that mighty warrior stood still like a mountain. And Shweta again pierced Shantanu's son with 25 straight arrows, at which all wondered. Then smiling and licking his tongue, the corners of his mouth, Shweta in that combat cut off Bhishma's bow into 10 fragments with 10 arrows. Then aiming a plumed arrow made wholly of iron, Shweta crushed the Palmyra on the top standard of the high-souled Bhishma. And beholding the standard of Bhishma cut down, thy sons thought that Bhishma was slain, having succumbed to Shweta. And the Pandavas, also filled with delight, blew their conches all around. And beholding the Palmyra standard of the high-souled Bhishma laid low, Duryodhana from wrath urged his own army to battle. And they all began very carefully to protect Bhishma, who was in great distress. Unto them also, unto those that stood idle spectators, the king said, either Shweta will die today, or Bhishma, the son of Shantanu. I say this truly. Hearing the words of the king, the mighty Ka warriors, speedily with 4 kinds of forces, advanced protecting the son of Ganga. And Valhika, and Kritavarman, and Kripa, and Salya also, O Bharat, and the son of Jarasandha, and Vikarna, and Chitrashena, and Vivinsati, with great speed, when speed was so necessary, surrounding him on all sides, poured on Shweta ceaseless showers of arrows. That mighty warrior then, of immeasurable soul, quickly checked those angry warriors by means of sharp arrows, displaying his own lightness of hand. And checking them all, like a lion and a multitude of elephants, Shweta then cut off Bhishma's bow with thick shower of arrows. Then Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, taking up another bow in that battle, pierced Shweta, O king, with arrows, furnished with feathers of Tanka bird. Then the commander of the Pandava army, with wrath excited, pierced Bhishma in that encounter, O king, with a great many shafts in the very sight of all. Beholding Bhishma, that foremost of heroes in all the world, checked in battle by Shweta, the king Duryodhana became greatly troubled, and great also became the distress of thy whole army. And beholding the heroic Bhishma, checked and mangled by Shweta with his arrows, all thought that Bhishma, having succumbed to Shweta, was slain by him. Then thy sire, Devavrata, yielding to anger and beholding his own standard overthrown, and the Dhritarashtra army checked, shot a great many arrows, O king, at Shweta. Shweta, however, that foremost of Ka warriors, baffling all those arrows of Bhishma, once more cut off with a broad-headed shaft thy sire's bow. Throwing aside that bow, O king, Ganga's son, senseless with anger, taking up another bow, larger and stronger, and aiming 7 large broad-headed arrows, whetted on stone, slew with 4 arrows the 4 steeds of the generalissimo, Shweta. Cut off his standard with 2, and with the 7th shaft, that warrior of great prowess, exceedingly provoked, cut off his charioteer's head. Thereupon, that mighty Ka warrior, jumping down from his car, whose steeds and charioteer had been slain, yielding to the influence of wrath, became exceedingly troubled. The grandsire, beholding Shweta, that foremost of Ka warriors, deprived of Ka, began to smite him on all sides with sharrows of arrows. And smitten in that combat with arrows shot from Bhishma's bow, Shweta, leaving his bow on his abandoned car, took up a dart decked with gold, and taking up that terrible and fierce dart, which resembled the fatal rod of death, and was capable of slaying death's self, Shweta then, in great wrath, addressed Bhishma, the son of Shantanu, in that combat, saying, "Wait a little and behold me, O best of men." And having said this unto Bhishma in battle, that great bowman of exceeding prowess and immeasurable soul hurtled the dart resembling a snake, displaying his valor for the sake of the Pandavas and desiring to achieve thy evil. Then loud cries of "Oh!" and "Alas!" arose among thy sons. Sorry, I have to give that more. Then loud cries of "Oh!" and "Alas!" arose among thy sons, O king, upon beholding that terrible dart, resembling the rod of death in splendor, and hurled from Sweta's arms, that dart resembling a snake that had just cast off its slough, fell with great force. O king, like a large meteor from the firmament, thy sire Devavrata then, O king, without the slightest fear, with 8 sharp and winged arrows, cut it off into 9 fragments that dart, decked with pure gold, and which seemed to be covered with flames of fire, as it coursed ablaze through the air. All thy troops then, O bull of Bharat's race, set up loud shouts of joy. The son of Virata, however, beholding his dart cut off into fragments, became senseless with anger, and like one whose heart was overcome by the arrival of his hour, could not settle what to do. Deprived of his senses by anger, O king, the son of Virat then smilingly, joyfully took up a mace for Bhishma's slaughter. With eyes red in wrath, and resembling a second Yama, armed with mace, he rushed against Bhishma like a swollen torrent against the rocks. Regarding his impetuosity as incapable of check, Bhishma, endued with great prowess and conversant with the might of others, suddenly alighted on the ground for warding off that blow. Sweta then, O king, whirling in wrath that heavy mace, hurled it on Bhishma's car like the god Maheshwara. And in consequence of that mace intended for Bhishma's destruction, that car was reduced to ashes, with standard and charioteer and steeds and shaft. Beholding Bhishma, that foremost of car warriors, become a combatant on foot, many car warriors, such as Salya and others, speedily rushed to his rescue. Mounting then upon another car and cheerlessly stretching his bow, Bhishma slowly advanced towards Shweta, seeing that foremost of car warriors. Meanwhile, Bhishma heard a loud voice uttered in the skies that was celestial, fraught with his own good. And the voice said, "O Bhishma, O thou of mighty arms, strive without losing a moment. Even this is the hour fixed by the creator of the universe for the sex. Even this is the hour fixed by the creator of the universe for success over this one." Hearing those words uttered by the celestial messenger, Bhishma, filled with joy, set his heart upon Shweta's destruction. And beholding that foremost of car warriors, Shweta became a combatant on foot. Many mighty car warriors of the Pandava side rushed unitedly to his rescue. They were Satyaki and Bhimashen, and Drishtajumna of Prishta's race, and the 5 Kakaya brothers, and Dristaketu and Abhimanyu of great energy. And beholding them rushing to the rescue, with Drona and Salya and Kripa, that hero of immeasurable soul, Bhishma checked them all like the mountain resisting the force of the wind. And when all the high-souled warriors of the Pandava side were thus held in check, Sweta, taking up a sword, cut off Bhishma's bow. Casting aside that bow, the grandsire quickly made up his mind for Shweta's destruction. having heard the words of the celestial messenger. Though baffled by Shweta, thy sire, Devavrata, then that mighty Ka warrior, quickly taking up another bow that resembled the bow of Shakra himself in splendor, stringed it in a moment. Then thy sire, O chief of the Bharats, beholding that mighty Ka warrior Shweta, though the latter was then surrounded by those tigers among men with Bhimashen at their head, thy sire, the son of Ganga, advanced steadily for the sake of the generalissimo Sweta alone. Beholding Bhishma's advance, Bhimashen of great prowess pierced him with 60 shafts. But that mighty Ka warrior, thy sire, Devavrata, checking both Bhimashen and Abhimanyu and other Ka warriors with terrible shafts, struck him with 3 straight arrows. And the grandsire of the Bharats also struck Satyaki in the combat with 100 arrows, and Drishtajumna with 20, and Kakeya brothers and the Kakeya brothers with 5. And checking all those great bowmen with terrible arrows, thy sire, Devavrata, advanced towards Sweta alone. Then taking out an arrow resembling death's self, and capable of bearing a great strain and incapable of being resisted, the powerful Bhishma placed it on his bowstring. That shaft, furnished with wings and duly endued with the force of the Brahma weapon, was seen by the gods and the Gandharvas and the Pisachas and the Uragas and the Rakshasas. And that shaft, of splendor like that of blazing fire, piercing through his coat of mail, passed through his body and struck into the earth with a flash like that of heaven's bolt. Like the sun, when speedily retiring to his western chambers, taking along with him the rays of light, even thus that shaft passed out Sweta's body, bearing away with itself his life. Thus slain in battle by Bhishma, we beheld that tiger among men fall down like the loosened crest of a mountain. And all the mighty Ka warriors of the Kshatriya race, belonging to the Pandava side, indulged in lamentations. Thy sons, however, and all the Kurus were filled with delight. Then, O king, beholding Sweta overthrown, Dushashana danced in joy over the field, in accompaniment with the loud music of conches, drums. And when that great bowman was slain by Bhishma, that ornament of battle, the mighty bowmen of the Pandava side, with Sikandin at their head, trembled in fear. Then, when their commander was slain, Dhananjaya, O king, and he of Vrishni's race, slowly withdrew the troops for their nightly rest. Then, O Bharat, the withdrawal took place of both theirs and thine, while thine and theirs were frequently setting up loud roars. And the mighty Ka warriors of the Partas entered their quarters, cheerlessly thinking, O chastiser of foes, of that awful slaughter in single combat, their commander.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Vishram, Nagi.
Yeah.
That was very good. That was very dramatic and very warrior. You're right in there, mate. In there. Woo!
I lost the plot sometimes. It was just so overwhelming. It's like,
I know
wow.
it was. Can you
Stop
just
the
remind me a
recording,
little bit who Shweta is? I got a bit lost.
Shweta, he's the brother of Uttara. So when Uttara was killed earlier on, Shweta wanted to get revenge.
Okay,
So
really.
he was
Brother of
another
Uttara.
son,
Okay.
another son of Virat. So he's Uttara's brother. And
Okay.
so also Uttara, the mother of Parikshit's brother. Anyway, so you want to stop recording, Matul?
You finished now?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. And they are quite long chapters we've been reading.
Yeah.
So what